August baby.
When in August?
August 5th.
Oh,
I'm a Leo.
And we are live. Thank you for coming to Author Chat. People are already saying that they're here. If you guys want to take a second to retweet on Twitter, etc., so people know that it's live, that would be much appreciated.
Oh, wait, I have a notification from...
It's probably from me, because I I just retweeted what you tweeted.
Yeah.
So that's always fun. We'll get like 1,000 retweets. If you want to ask questions, you can do it a couple of different ways. You can ask them here on this show if you're watching via Google+. You can comment on the event page. You can tweet me at Twitter. You can track me down on Facebook, or you can email me. Find any way. I will find your question. Tonight we have two wonderful authors. Grab the books over here. We have S.E. Green of Killer Instinct and Killer Within, and Lynn. How do you spell your last name? Is it Weingarten, or am I completely? Oh,
No,
it is.
that was exactly it.
Oh, I got it right. And Lynn Weingarten. Oh, that's awesome. I butcher people's last names all the time. It's horrible. There's nothing like having a favorite book or something, and you're reading it, and you've read it like tons of times, and then you find out years later, oh, I've been butchering that character's name forever. Oops. Oh well. These books were awesome. Awesome. So we are going to get right into this. Lynn, I'll bring you up really quick, and you can tell us a little about you and your book, and then we'll do the same with Shannon, and then we will get in with the questions. Okay, Lynn, there you go.
All right. Hi. So my book is Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls. It is a thriller about a dark friendship. At the beginning of the book, June, who is the main character, finds out that Delia, who's her former best friend, has died, and everyone believes she's killed herself. But Delia's ex-boyfriend believes that maybe something else is going on. And so this is the story of then what happens.
And Shannon?
Okay, so I'm S.E. Green, and I write the Killer Instinct series, and there's two books in that series, Killer Instinct and Killer Within, and in an elevator bleep of a synopsis, it's about a 17-year-old girl who thinks she might be a serial killer.
When I was doing this for you guys to come on, I was like, why does Lynn's name sound so familiar? Then I realized that when I looked it up, that you also wrote the Book of Love, and I'm like, well, I had an ARC of that. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to get on with the questions here, and the first question is for Shannon, and it is, so after these books, which do you think is more important, nurture or nature?
Oh, good question. I really do think gosh, I really do think it is a 50-50 battle, you know, because in all the research I've done now, it really does boil down to who the person is. Not so much nature versus nurture, but just who the person is intrinsically and how they handle everything they are dealt. So, yeah, it's really a 50-50.
Okay.
And you disappeared there for a second. I don't know if you heard my answer.
It's fine. Okay. See, the next question is for both of you. We'll just start with you, Shannon. What are you working on now?
Ooh, I'm excited. I'll actually start releasing some information on this probably around September. But I have a new thriller coming out in November, and it's a survival thriller, and it is an adult novel.
Oh, cool.
So I'm really excited about it, and I'm going to start releasing things in September about that.
Okay.
I am working on another book under the same contract as this book, but I am in the brainstorming stages. So there's nothing more to say about that right now.
All right. The next question is, for Suicide Notes, is there a message in Suicide Notes that you hope readers will grasp?
I wasn't, in writing it, I certainly wasn't thinking of it as like having a moral or anything like that. I mean, I think if there's anything of that nature that I would think someone might take away from it, it's maybe just sort of like when people are very lonely, they maybe don't always make the best decisions. I think that would be the message if there was going to be one.
The next question is for Shannon. Essie, your cover changed. What is the new significance of the cover, and which one did you like more?
I definitely like the new cover. You don't have an old cover there, do you?
Yes, I do, because I grabbed mine in hardback because I like the old cover.
Do you? Now, have you taken the cover off to see what's underneath?
Oh, yeah.
Show that. I like
that was awesome.
Yeah, I like the blood drips on the back. I like, as far as the two covers, I like the blood drip on the old cover and the picture of the heroine in the story. I think that was very well done. But as far as like eye-catching and popping off the shelf, the new look is definitely accomplishing that. So I like the new look. And at first I was like, oh no, they're going to change my cover. But now that it's done, I totally appreciate the direction.
Okay. Is there any significance of the new cover in the book?
You mean the hand?
The hand, yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's the next question.
Decapitated parts. So my villain in the book is called the Decapitator, and as that word says, there are body parts that are taken from people: the heads, the hands, the feet. So that's what the floating hand is on the Killer Instinct cover. And my editor sent me a picture. This was actually a little tiny doll's hand that they used in the photo shoot, and I thought it was really funny. They used a doll's hand, and she sent it to me, and it was this little tiny doll hand, and they made it into this cover. It's interesting how they do that.
Cool.
The next question is for both of you. Shannon, you can go first. What was the hardest scene you had to write, and what about the rawest? The rawest.
When I sit down to write these books, I just let it all out. I didn't filter anything. And so for me, there really was no hard scene because I went into this ready to just be out there with everything. I didn't hold anything back. So I didn't really find any of it difficult. I almost found it liberating to write these books because they were so graphic and dark and so different from the things I have written before. And now I'm quite addicted to writing that way. So.
And Lynn?
I think I found, in terms of the ones that I think I had to work the hardest on, one of the very final scenes, I rewrote a bunch of different times and changed a bunch of things about it until I finally got it the way I wanted it to be. So just in terms of actually working on it, I think that was one of the hardest, especially because I felt like it was really important for the plot. As for the rawest, I don't think I can say without giving anything away. So, something in the second half of the book.
Okay. The next question is, what books have influenced or impacted you the most? Lynn?
Oh goodness, I feel like I need to think about this more. That's a really hard question. Come back to me on that.
Shannon?
Well, anytime I'm asked this question, I always say the same thing. I was not a reader at all, and really I started out reading Suzanne Brockman's Troubleshooter series. It's about a group of Navy SEALs. And that series is what just opened up my brain, and I started generating ideas, and I started writing for the first time. So that series, to me, has made such an impact on my life, because without it, I wouldn't be writing right now.
I guess in terms of what's influenced the way I write now, I'm not actually sure how to answer that, but just in terms of stuff I read when I was, like in high school and a young adult, I read a ton of Stephen King, which I didn't think of it as having influenced me at all, but just in terms of like the thriller aspect and the creepiness aspect, I guess maybe in some ways it probably did.
The next question is ebook or print, which do you like more? Lynn?
I like both. I like ebooks because then I can just have my Kindle in my bag and I can have a ton of different books without carrying them around. But I do think it's really nice to just like go to the park or go somewhere with like an actual book and not have it be connected to anything. It's nice to like feel like you are closed off from the world when you're reading a book. And I feel like sometimes with an ebook, even if you're looking at your Kindle, you're not going to get email. It still has like a different feeling to it.
Shannon?
Pretty much the same answer. I love a print book. I love to sit out on my patio and, with a cup of coffee and my print book. But for the sake of ease when traveling and whatnot, a Kindle is super easy to tote along and have all your things on it you'd like to fiddle with.
Okay. Let's see. This one is for you, Shannon. Do you think we'll see any more of Lane in the future?
I actually would love to write a book 3, but ultimately that decision has not been made yet. I've done some tentative plotting for a book 3, but I certainly haven't started writing it.
Okay. This one, I don't know how you're gonna work around this because it contains spoilers. So, do you think in like the next book or something, do you think that Lane will ever tell her father, at least her father, the truth of what happened from book 1?
I don't see that ever happening. I don't see that ever happening. But I don't know.
Keep it to herself.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't know half the stuff I'm going to write. I just start writing and then it just happens. So I don't know. Maybe as I'm writing along book 3, I might think, yeah, let me have her come clean. I don't know. We'll see.
Let's see. The next question is, what drew you to write for YA? Shannon?
Well, I started out writing for adults because the series I was talking about before, it was an adult series. And so I thought that that's how I should write. But my critique partner kept telling me I should try a younger voice. And so I did. And within the first couple of pages, I knew I had found the voice that I liked. So it took me a little bit, and then it just clicked within the first couple pages.
And Lynn?
So I came about it sort of in a sideways way. My first job out of college was working for a young adult, well, for a book packager, but a lot of the books I worked on were young adult. So I ended up working on a ton of those books and then ended up trying to write one.
What do you mean a book packager?
So it's a company where we'd make up ideas for books, then find writers to write the books. And then, so I worked on, and then we edited them. So I worked on tons of young adult books in that job.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Okay, the next question is, what was the last book you read, what are you reading now, and what are you reading next? Lynn?
The last book I read was Bright Lights, Big City, which is not a young adult book, although it kind of feels like in some ways it could be a young adult book. I'm currently reading The Walls Around Us, and also, which is by Nova Rensuma, and also a nonfiction book of essays called The Empathy Exams. And next, I'm not sure. I have a big stack of books So I don't know what's next.
Shannon?
The last book I read was the thriller I have coming out in November because I had to read it for edit. So that was the last book I read. What I'm currently reading is a calculus book. And then what do I have coming after that is a trig book.
And why are you reading math books?
Because I'm in school again. I'm in grad school again, and I'm getting
wow.
my master's in math. So.
Oh, cool.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot of math.
It is.
See, okay, the next question is, how much research did you do for your books? Shannon?
I tend not to do a lot of research up front. I tend to just generate an idea, and then I start writing, and then I'll stop and research and keep writing. So at this point, though, with both of the killer books, behind me, I have just read so much data on serial killers and violent crimes, and so what was your question? How much research did I do?
Yeah.
I think I answered it right.
Okay. And Lynn?
There wasn't actually that much research to do. Like there's a couple of sections that I needed to figure out how the logistics of certain things. But beyond that, there just wasn't that much research that I even needed to do, really.
Let's see. Next.
Oh, I did want to. Can I say something else about that?
Yeah.
My books take place in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, and I get asked this question a lot, so I thought I'd just go ahead and answer it. Yes, I lived in that area for 3 years when I was in grad school the first time around, and that's how I know all the street names and the ins and outs of that area. So as far as research go, I lived right in the area I wrote about.
The next question is for Lynn, and it's the one that we talked about before. There's a couple of them on here. Okay, so they're kind of worded differently. So this one is, will we ever get a definitive answer about the ending of Suicide Notes? I guess you could just say yes or no to that one. Because I know you don't want to give anything away.
I mean, I feel like there's a definitive answer, but I understand why someone would feel like there isn't. In terms of like a sequel or anything like that, at this point there's no plan for that. So this might be all there is.
Okay, so this is on the same topic. We read Suicide Notes as a group, and it left us all feeling, oh my God, what happened? Will we ever get a black and white answer on who lived and who died? I'm thinking that one's from my group because the other website that I started, Readers Under the Stars, we read that as a group, all three of us. So, and we're all just like, I wanted to hate the ending, but I love the ending. It's like my babies.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't rule out at some point, like, writing a short story or something like that, but it wasn't anything that, like, when I wrote the book and finished the book, I wasn't thinking, like, I'm going to write more. I thought, like, no, this is the end.
The next question is not about the ending of your book, I promise. Is there anything you find challenging in your writing?
You mean in, like, the process of writing, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, writing is, yes. All of writing is hard. I mean, like there are days when it goes well and then it feels great and it feels like, the most fun thing you could be doing. I mean, but it's work like anything that you might be doing to like sit down and try and focus and not look at email and, it definitely feels like, there's effort that goes into it. It doesn't feel like I'm just sitting there and writing is coming out of my fingers. Like I'm definitely like trying.
Be nice if it did.
Yeah, it would be great.
And Shannon?
Actually, I'm sidetracked. Cassie, the one on the Facebook, she's saying that she can't get in. Will you go on my Facebook page and give her the link?
Yes, yes, I will.
Thank you. She's saying she wants to. Someone please help me.
Uh,
We're helping you, Cassie.
Ooh, it let me tag her for a change. Woohoo! I never know what Facebook's going to do.
We're coming, Cassie. We promise.
Okay.
Do you see who I'm talking about?
Yeah, okay. I got it. And I'm going to give her the YouTube one just in case. If for some reason you guys are having issues, you can watch it on the YouTube channel and then just like submit questions, you know, one of the many bajillions of places that I mentioned before. Okay, so hopefully now she can find it. I tossed both of them on there. Okay, so the question was, is there anything about writing that you feel is challenging?
For me, emotion is very challenging. I can write a kick-butt, action-packed, dark, thrilling, horror-filled scene, but when it comes to emotions and the touchy-feely stuff, that is so hard for me. I mean, it's almost exhausting to write those scenes.
I have a bad time with conversations. It always sounds weird. Let's see. The next question is for Lynn again. Did you ever have a close encounter with suicide? And if not, why did you decide to take on that hard teen topic?
I've had not anyone I've been very personally close to, but I've had connections with people I've been close to, people they've been close to. But I guess I don't necessarily, I'm not sure how to answer this question without giving things away, but I don't feel, I guess what I mean, I don't feel like this is a suicide book. Like on Amazon it was coming up as like, in the suicide fiction, and I guess I just don't think of it as that.
I really don't like what they added for the Goodreads thing because it really gives the book away if they've read the other or seen the movie of what it posts on there. It was a really bad thing to do. Okay, let's see. What did and why did you begin writing, Lynn?
I guess, you know, like as a kid, I always loved writing and I always loved reading. I remember, like, in my elementary school, we had a program which was really cool in retrospect, where you could just like write a little story and then go, and they would like bind it in like a cardboard cover with wallpaper on it, and you had to pick the wallpaper you wanted on the cover. So I did it. Like, I guess I've always thought writing was just really fun. I mean, that was like, you know, when I was just a little kid. In terms of writing, older, you know, I was an English major, and then my concentration was in creative writing in college, and so it was never a choice I made. I guess I just sort of was always doing it.
Shannon?
I'm just the opposite. It was like pulling teeth to get me to read or write when I was a kid. Ugh, I was the epitome of reluctant reader, and I've always been a mathematician. So when I actually picked up a pencil and started writing, I was in my late 20s, and I was like, oh my God, I'm creative. It was amazing to think that I was doing that because I had never before even read a book really or anything. So it was very late for me, and now I'm addicted.
The next question is for you, Shannon. If Killer Within's cover would have matched the original hardback of Killer Instinct, what do you think would have been on it? And P.S. I love the book, Die Hard fan.
I don't know what they were going to do with book 2. They at the point book 2 came around, they had already redesigned the cover, so I have no clue what it was going to be. Maybe just a derivative of the first. More blood drips.
More carnage. Okay, the next question is also for you. Your thriller books deal with a teenage girl with urges to kill, and how does your female character balance her dark urges with coping mechanisms? That's really worded weird.
So in my book, my main character, Lane, yes, she's a very dark, kind of stoic character, but she balances that side of her with her love of animals, and she is so dedicated to animals, and that's who she really relates to, or what she really relates to more than people are animals. And so that those scenes with her and her sidekick, whose name, or his little name is Cornchip, that's the little dog's name, that really brings out that tenderness in her that we don't normally see. Also, her little brother. She has an incredible soft spot for the little brother, not so much for the sister.
See, the next question is also for you. Why did you decide to use that twist in the end of Killer Instinct?
I actually had no idea who the decapitator was going to be, and I wanted it that way. I wrote the book with no idea who the villain was going to be, because I wanted it to be a surprise not only for myself but for the reader. And so when I wrote myself into that scene, I was like, oh yes, this is going to be great. So I was very excited about it when I finally figured it out myself.
I know, it freaked me out. Okay, let's see. The next question is for both of you. We'll start with you, Shannon. Are you anything like your main character?
Yeah, in the sense that I'm a very black and white person, and I'm sure that's the mathematical side of me. I don't like gray matter, and that's my character. She's very black and white, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Not that I'm biblical, but yeah, I like her way of thinking. There's good and there's bad. There you go. There's nothing in between.
Lynn?
I think maybe, I mean, she definitely isn't a version of me, but I think some of her ways of thinking about certain things, like some of the thoughts she's had, or maybe thoughts I've had, I think, you know, like her life situation was not my life situation growing up and things like that. So in that way, no.
Do you prefer books with a happy ending, unhappy ending, or an open ending? Lynn?
I don't know. That's a good question. Can I say I like all of them?
I don't see why not.
I'm going to say all of them. That's my answer.
And Shannon?
I get frustrated with books that don't have a satisfying ending, if that makes sense, whether that be an open ending or a good ending. I don't like, I feel very frustrated when something happens in the ending that I didn't see coming and that I don't really understand why it ended up that way. I want to like reach inside the book and strangle the people or something.
Okay. Let me go over here to my second document for the rest of the questions. That was everything that was submitted via Google+. If anybody has any other questions for these authors' other books, that is perfectly fine as well. Okay. So the next question is, we'll start with you, Lynn. Who is your favorite author?
I can't ever pick favorites. Some authors that I really like are, I don't know how you pronounce her name, Leanne Moriarty, wrote The Husband's Secrets. Anyway, in terms of like young adult authors, I really love Nova Rensuma and Lauren Oliver. I love The Diviners by Liva Bray. I don't think I have a particular favorite. I think it sort of depends on what mood I'm in.
And Shannon?
Well, as I mentioned before, Suzanne Brockman's my all-time favorite author. She does not write young adult, but that wasn't the question, right? It was just favorite adult.
Yeah,
or
just
favorite
favorite
author.
authors.
Yeah. She'd have to be my favorite. As far as, I've actually been in a real new adult reading splurge, and I've been doing a lot of
Me too.
Colleen Hoover. Oh, that's my favorite by her.
And of course, like, that's what just came in from the library. I thought that was funny. I hold it up and you mentioned her name. Can't beat that one.
That's funny. Yeah, and of course Jennifer Armentrout. I read a ton of her too.
I think everybody does. She's awesome.
And she's just a good person too. She's such a sweetheart.
She's been on the show back when it was the read on, like 2 years ago. She's awesome. Okay, the next question is for both of you. How do you come up with the plot for your books? Shannon?
I'm a seeder. I just, kind of generate an idea. I sit down and I just start writing, and then I see where it goes. I don't do elaborate outlines. That just exhausts me to even think about doing that. But I know that works for a lot of authors. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay. And Lynn?
Actually, I'm the opposite. I pretty much have only so far written things from outlines. I currently also work for a book packager, and when I used to work at my first job at a book packager, we would come up with ideas sort of like we'd come up with a single sentence first, as like try and put a whole idea or a whole concept just in one sentence, and then sort of grow it outward from there and like expand it into a paragraph, then expand it into a page. And I sort of think because that's so what I'm used to doing, that's sort of still how I work when I'm coming up with things.
The next question is, what is your go-to snack while writing? Lynn?
I eat a lot of snacks. Lately I've been eating a lot of Skittles. I like them because they're individual and there's a lot of them.
Shannon?
Nuts, walnuts, pecans. If I'm needing a snack, I'll just grab a handful of that.
The next question is, if you two had to write a book together, what do you think it'd be about? Shannon?
Something, a psychological thriller, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
That would be cool.
That would be great to do.
We would do a bang-up job.
That would be one twisted book, that's for sure. That would be awesome. You guys should talk to Simon & Schuster about doing that. Like, seriously.
Talk to Jenny first. We both have the same agent.
We do have the same agent.
Let's see. What did it feel like the first time that you went into the bookstore and you saw your book on the shelf? Shannon?
Oh my God, I mean, it was just surreal. I was an idiot. I was bouncing around and taking pictures and being just ridiculous.
So I've actually only seen this book once on a shelf because it just came out on Tuesday. So actually I was on Sunday, I was with a friend seeing a movie, and we were like, let's just look at the bookstore just in case it's there. So that was fun. This sounds terrible. I actually don't remember the first time I saw my first book on a shelf. I'm assuming I was very happy about it, though.
Let's see. The next question is, since you both have done more than one book, does writing get easier as you go through more books? I'm guessing that's a no, since you're shaking your head, Shannon.
I would say that to me, the plotting doesn't get any easier. What gets easier is the flow coming out of me. I don't feel like I have to do so much checking. Like I used to have all these sheets to remind me active versus passive, show, don't tell, all these things, because I wasn't a writer, so I had to really learn the craft from the start. But now I don't even look at those sheets anymore. So in that sense, it's easier. But when it comes to just the overall plotting and everything, no, it's still very challenging for me.
Lynn?
I don't necessarily think it gets easier. But I think some of the things that make writing hard, like, are, as you're writing, something that I do is, like, as I'm writing, I sort of am editing in my head, and I think it's easier to shut that off when you're aware that you're doing it. And I also think there's been a period in the middle of every book I've written where it's sort of like it's not the beginning and it's not the ending, and it's like the chunk in the middle where it sort of feels like, wait, what am I doing? Is this going to be a book? Does this make any sense? And I feel like previously that feeling would maybe make me panic or anxious about the process, whereas now I just sort of feel like, well, that's just sort of what's going to happen. So I guess it's writing more books makes it easier to ignore certain thoughts that might not be helpful while you're writing.
If you had to pick somebody to play your main character, being a movie or a TV show, who would it be? Lynn?
Oh, I've never thought about this before. Hmm. Okay, I'm going to pick Jennifer Lawrence.
Of course, because who else? If you're gonna go, you might as well go big.
Yeah, I pick Jennifer Lawrence.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to go big.
I would pick Casey Roll. And if you guys don't know her, if you watch Hannibal, she was in season 1, and she played Abigail Hobbs in Hannibal. And she's the perfect person for my heroine. She's very dark and troubled and would pull it off expertly, I think.
The next question is, let's see, who is your favorite character, Shannon?
In the Killer
Anything.
book, or
it just says favorite character with a question mark, so anything.
Gosh, I would think my favorite character of all time is probably Dexter from Jeff Lindsay's book. You know who I'm talking about? And the Showtime show Dexter was based off of his books.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. Best show ever. Lynn, have you seen it?
I've seen a couple episodes, and it is a very, very, very good show. And I also read the script of the first episode just for fun because people said it was a great script, and it's great. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
So who's your favorite character? Lynn?
I can't pick favorites of things.
Nobody? Just pick one.
What are some characters that I like? I really like Harry Potter.
I was waiting for somebody to pick him.
Okay, well, I don't know if he's my favorite character, but he's a character that I have enjoyed reading.
That works.
All right, we'll go with that.
Okay, the next question is, how do you deal with writer's block? Lynn?
I mean, I think something that I have found helpful in the past is, and I can't remember who said this on Twitter. Somebody said something about doing this on Twitter, and I found it helpful, just as a way to write at all, is to set a timer and then try and write as many words as you can until the timer goes off. So I think it's like you set a timer for 15 minutes and then just try and write as much as possible. And I think writer's block is just like, it's not that you can't write anything, it's that you don't like anything you're writing, or at least for me, that's what it is, and it's helpful just to sort of like shut that part of your brain off. And I think a timer can help because like you're having a race, and that makes it fun.
Shannon?
I don't really believe in writer's block. I make myself write, and so if I'm not in the mood, I still do it, and pretty much every single time, eventually something comes out. I make myself type, and eventually it weaves its way into something that's acceptable for me.
Okay, the next question is, book boyfriends, do you have one? Shannon?
Well, going back to our discussion on Colleen Hoover and Jennifer Armentrout, pretty much all of their boys are my book boyfriends. But in my Killer series, I got two boyfriends. In book one, well, actually the whole series, well, yeah, book one is Dr. Issa, the veterinarian. And in book two, Tommy, the new character, is my book boyfriend.
Lynn?
I guess if I had to pick a book boyfriend from my own book, I guess I would pick Sebastian. I thought he sounded cute.
Next question is, do you write on paper, computer? How do you write your books? Lynn?
I love the idea of writing on paper, and I've definitely tried at times to like have a notebook in my bag and go to the park and write, because I think it seems like a great idea, but I can just type so much faster than I can write with my hand, and my hand gets so tired writing in a notebook that I pretty much always write on my laptop.
Shannon?
Before I wrote the Killer series, I wrote a spy series under my real name, and I wrote every one of those books longhand on yellow legal pads and with a .9 mechanical pencil, because it was just enjoyable and I felt creative, and then I would retype it all into the computer, and I was having fun at it, so I did it. With the Killer books, I did everything on the computer because I was kind of in a hurry. And I didn't have the opportunity to sort of leisurely write.
The next question is for you, Shannon. What is your favorite series or book by Jennifer Armentrout?
I like all of her the Fall With Me, the With Me series, Fall With Me.
Stay With Me.
You know that I can't think of all the time. I've read them all. I can't, except I didn't read his point of view. What was the second book? The first book that started the series was that Fall With Me? With Me. Anyway.
Stay With Me? Is it Stay With Me?
Was that the first book in the series? It was the second book I haven't read, which was from his point of view. Every other book in the series I've read. Lynn, do you know what we're talking about? Have you read that series?
No.
Oh.
No, Stay With Me is the third book in the series.
What's the first book?
The first book is Wait For You.
Okay.
It's Wait For You, Be With Me.
That's the one I haven't read.
And then Stay With Me, Fall For Me. I'm skipping all the novellas. Forever With You, and then the new one that will be out, I guess Forever With You is out sometime this year, and then Fire In You will be out sometime next year.
Oh, I thought there was one coming out in September.
Yeah, that's the Forever In You.
But then there was one that came out in March, I think, because I read one this year.
Fall With Me came out this year.
Okay.
Forever With You will be out later this year as well.
Yeah.
The next question is advice for aspiring authors. Shannon?
My advice is always to learn the craft, go to workshops if you need to, network with other authors and other, like we're doing now with other bloggers and people in the industry, and to just write, to not worry about being a perfectionist, to write and write some more and write some more. And eventually something will come together.
Lynn?
I mean, the cliche advice is of read as much as possible, I think is also really good advice. Just in terms of practical terms, I know so many writers who used to work in book publishing, so maybe get a job in book publishing as like an extra helpful thing.
Okay. The next question is, how long did it take you to write your book? Lynn?
I mean, I came up with the idea for this book a very long time ago and then put it aside and actually like wrote other books in the middle. In terms of actually just writing this book, I think I wrote the first draft maybe took about a year because midway through writing the book, I threw out the whole second half of the book and then wrote it again. So it made it take a lot longer.
Shannon?
When I wrote Killer Instinct, the idea came to me, and I sat down and I started writing, and I just kept writing and writing, and 21 days later I had written the whole book.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. It just poured out of me.
Wait, that's amazing.
I know, believe me. I couldn't get up from the computer. I mean, I was so enthralled with the story.
That's crazy.
Wait, can I ask Shannon a question because I'm so curious?
Yes, you can.
Was the final draft pretty similar to what you wrote in the 21 days?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sure, once your agent sees it, and once your editor sees it, there's tweaks, but
right.
Nothing significant.
That's so cool.
It was crazy. Yeah. Believe me.
I want to do that somehow. Can you tell me how to do that?
Don't get up from the computer.
So actually, that's a good question, Lynn. One of the giveaways I have is an ARC of Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls. How different is the ARC to the finished copy?
Plot-wise, there's no plot changes at all. Writing-wise, I actually made a ton of little changes between the ARC and the final draft, including like the last pages. Like, there's no plot changes. If you read it, you're reading the same book. But there's a lot of little tweaks that I made, like a ton of them actually.
Okay. The next question is, how did you come up with the title, Lynn?
I thought of the title before I thought of anything having to do with the book. I don't even remember how I came up with it. It was like, I want to say maybe like 2008 or 2009, and I just sort of was thinking, and I was like, that sounds like a fun title. Maybe it was 2010, but it was a long enough time ago that I thought of it, and then I talked about it with a friend, and then I just put it aside, and sort of almost made up a book around the title.
And Shannon?
Well, apparently I suck at two things. Number one is titles. Number two is character names, because it doesn't matter what book I write, it seems like the character names in the title always gets ditched and another one comes in. So I didn't even come up with the title. I don't even remember what I titled it, to be honest with you, because I just knew it wasn't going to stick.
Okay. The next question is... What age groups are your books for? Shannon?
Definitely an older teen, 16 and up, I would say, although it's marketed for 14 and up, but in my opinion, 14 is still a little too young for the content in it.
Especially that ending. I don't think I could have handled that young. I barely handled it now. Lynn?
I don't know. I definitely think it's for an older teen audience, but then I also think about like what I was reading when I was, like 13 and 14, and I don't necessarily think this is any darker than that. But like if I was recommending to a parent, like should their child read it if they were like 14, I would say like maybe like wait a couple years.
Are there any recent YA titles that you admire? Lynn?
Yes, lots of them. I'm currently reading, as I said, I'm reading The Walls Around Us, which is amazing.
Any others?
Oh yes, lots of others.
You can say a few.
As I was saying before, I love Lauren Oliver. My friend McCall also wrote an amazing book called Amity, which is fantastic. I love the Diviner series. I'm very excited for the next one. Shannon, I'm very excited to read your book, which is also in my stack on my nightstand.
And Shannon?
Well, yeah, lots of them. Hit by Delilah Dawson, Iron Flood. You got that one?
Yeah, I have it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I read it 2 weeks ago. So I guess that goes back to our previous question. I guess that was the last book I read. Anyway, Fire and Flood by Victoria Scott. Murder Complex by Lindsay Cummings.
That one was awesome.
Rumble by Ellen Hopkins. Taken by Kimberly Durding. How many you want?
I have like half of those. It's crazy. We're actually doing the Taking for my book club right now. She's amazing too, by the way. Okay, let's see. The next question is, if you weren't a writer, what would you be doing? Shannon?
Well, I am a math teacher. I teach math part-time. So if I wasn't writing, then I would go back to full-time math teaching.
So is it like grade school, high school, college?
Oh, it's definitely not grade school. Little kids drive me nuts. I teach college and I also teach high school. I teach at I teach the university here local, and then I also teach at a private school for young mothers. So they're ages 14 to 21, and they've either just had a baby or they're currently pregnant. And I teach them geometry, algebra, business math, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's a young age to be pregnant.
It's a great facility.
That's awesome that they have some place to be able to go. Things like that. And Lynn?
Is it a cop-out to say I'd be a book editor? Because I also do that as a job, so I would say book editor.
But he stays in around the same fields. That's good though, that you have like something to fall back on if like something bad would happen or something. Let's see.
If our books tanked.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that. Okay, out of all the books that you have written, because you both have written multiple books, which one has been your favorite? I know this is like picking like your favorite child, and it sucks, but it's there. So, Lynn, out of all the books that you've written, which one so far is your favorite?
It's this one. It's the most recent one, definitely.
And Shannon?
That is hard to answer, but I'm going to go with the one I have coming out in November. I'm super excited about it, and it was so much fun to write. So ask me this again next year, and I might say a different book, but right now that one is definitely my favorite.
The next question is, and this will be one of the last ones, do you read your reviews? Shannon?
Sometimes, when I first started writing, and when my first book was out, as I think most authors do, I was reading them. But then as the years have gone on, I've read them spot here and there. It plays with my psyche a little bit, you know, whenever I read one that's not too good. So I kind of try to stay away from it. It doesn't ruin my brain.
And Lynn?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's basically the same answer. Like, my first book, I would like check Amazon every day and like read every single thing. And at this point, I sort of like will sporadically read things sometimes, or if somebody tags me on Twitter, I'll read something like that. But in general, occasionally I do, but in general, I sort of try not to that much.
Okay. And the last question of the night is going to be, if you were deserted on a desert island, what 3 books would you take with you? Lynn?
I think I'd want them to all be survival books, but I don't. and then one really, really long book that I could light the pages on fire to make a fire.
It's like the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Yeah, the whole. I found that as one book, and then a book with the cell phone inside, so I could call.
I don't think anybody's ever said that. It's always, they just list 3 titles, and nobody ever thinks about, how to survive in the wild book. That might come in handy,
I just feel if I'm stranded, I'm going to have other stuff than reading to do. There's probably, I don't know, I'm imagining bears on that island for some reason.
And Shannon?
Same thing. I was going to say some sort of survival book. But I like the one about a book that has a lot of pages so you can burn them for fire.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming on today. If you decide that you want to come back, just let me know. And for those of you who don't know, I will actually be meeting with Shannon here this next Saturday, which is also my birthday. So I will be taking pictures and posting them, as long as that's okay with you. If not, I'll just I'll have to stalk you from afar, and then I'll take them. I did that at GeekyCon last year. I have pictures of Gail Foreman, the back of her head, that I was sitting in the audience. So I'm like, is that technically stalking? Can't wait to meet you, though. Both of these books were amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was fun. I like this.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, ladies, for coming on. Is there anything else that you would like to tell your fans?
Thanks for reading books.
That's a good one. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for supporting authors and watching this and asking questions. It makes us feel like rock stars.
Because you are. Right. Well, ladies, if you want to just click out of here, you guys are done. And thank you again so much for coming on.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Bye. Bye, Lynn. Good to meet you.
Shannon. Good to meet you.
And for those of you who don't know, I will be posting the link, but you can actually win signed copies of both books. I've got one finished copy of Suicide Notes from Beautiful Girls, as well as an ARC. The ARC is not signed. And then I also have the brand new cover of Killer Instinct in paperback, as well as a hardback of Killer Within. So these are awesome. And this giveaway will only run for another week. So if by chance you win the copies of Killer Within and Killer Instinct, of course, as I said, I will be meeting her next Saturday, so they can actually get personalized. So that's always a plus. I will go toss the link for the giveaway onto the Google Plus event page here. Once I find it in one of my windows here. Do that. So that is now on there. And join us again. Let me get to my other link over here. I need a bigger computer. And I will tell you guys when the next author show is on. If anybody wants to know who is coming on next and when, I will post that link as well. It's on my Facebook page. I can't spell tonight. And you can just click that link and it will take you to all of the other events via this. The next one will actually be the 21st of this month, and it is with Karen Ann Hopkins. She's the author of the Temptation series, published by Flux, as well as the self-published Embers. As well, I think she's got another series out too. These are actually the giveaway copies. They are all signed, and I have a whole bunch of bookmarks as well. So she will be on here July 21st at 6 p.m. And then the following week after that, we will again, Sherry Ficklin will be gracing us with her wonderful presence for her book 2 of the Queen of Someday series, Queen of Tomorrow. So I will be very happy to again chat with her. So make sure you guys can find the links off of those events and submit questions before the show. And thank you so much for you guys watching this. This, of course, will stay on YouTube via the author chat link, and I hope to see you guys next week. Bye.